Well, I say see you in 3, but it's just like for me, nothing's changed. So that's just again, and yeah, they win and they won. Their battle's already finished. Their battle's already finished. So there's that. Ugh, man. Starting. Woo, 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 woo. I'm gonna have the best day of my life. My life. Woo, 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 woo. Now we got docks again here. Maybe as I get closer to battles, I'll be ready to. Ugh, man. Restarting the streams and all. Well, I mean, that's that. Very unfortunate. Gonna be like a long time before we get the next set of matches, so there's that. I'm not sure what I'm gonna do with the recordings. I'll probably just have them in 2 parts. Does look like he's already opened this one. Wrong password. Yay. I love it when the password's wrong. Yeah, I typed it wrong, that's why. Dum, 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 dum. Dum, 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 dum. Hug? No. I'm sorry. I have a cat. Come say hi! Yeah, she doesn't like it when I pick her up. But she does like it when I scratch her. Until she doesn't. Alright. So, I mean, guys, it'll be 3 minutes delayed. It'll be a while. No rolls. It wasn't counting the roll yet. That's very unfortunate. Throw this bot under the bus. Alright. Well, I'll leave that for however long. The next battle happens in 11 minutes my time, which will be, I mean, like, it'll be accurate because it'll be 11 minutes. It's just very sad that, like, I don't get to see. I'll react to your like messages in real time, but it's just going to take. So I can't check the settings here. Normally up here you'll get to notice whether or not they've disabled anything. So doctrines are enabled, doctrines are enabled, and attires are enabled, so. Not sure what we can do about that. Why is my reward so different? There's a second reward starting already. So we're getting closer and closer. Time is ticking. Man, there was so much time in between that I thought I could probably go eat. I probably could still eat, actually, considering that I still have 10 minutes. Maybe I'll grab something small. If anything changes, I mean, like, it's not like a million miles away from right now. But if anything does change, I'll put my back on. Well, I'm just saying. rough start. But hopefully it gets better. Coming up between, well, we're going to be hunting the QAT versus the doc. Oh, there you go. I'll put that one there. I think there's too many of them now. Exactly 10. Who's this guy? My question. Someone just went off at Valletta. Oh my god, just such a bad experience. Hey, we complained just a little bit. But as much as we complain, we only care whether or not the experience is good for viewers. So I mean, like, again, consistency is very important. You guys probably can't hear me from this distance, but I mean, think about it. You bring in the new system, and what you're doing is just you're trying to implement something, and it just doesn't work out. The casters have to give them the benefit of the doubt that they're trying. I am giving them the benefit of the doubt that they're trying. But I mean, like, I get they need to communicate with us sometimes. Valletta's doing a great job. I do think Lunashock is kind of like dropped off the rails here. Yep. Lunashock is was normally the liaise for CVL the last time, but now Valletta's back in, handling it directly. Alright. There's about a minute for the official start of the second battle. Once the 3 minutes, there is a clause where if... there's supposed to be a clause. I'm not sure if it's still around. But... for every 15 minutes that the... teams have to wait, you would lose a point. So, there's that. There's also an agreement between the teams whether or not if you're down one player, they don't actually have to fight this battle. Normally it's in good faith if they go with one less player, but the difference of one less player is massive, and I don't even think there's very many people that can actually sustain having one less player, especially on the attack, where you have to kind of overwhelm the defenders. It can get very difficult in kind of the early stages as well, whether or not to have concessions. Especially since, like, the skill level is just not there for a lot of these teams. So, does look like the last guy finally arrives on the dot, so we should be seeing the battle starting shortly. Who was that just joined? An extra just came in, so someone needs to get kicked out in a second, so I think the observer's also gonna have a bit of a difficult time since they can't talk in world chat like that, like they normally do in the tournament server. So a lot of things have changed up. Definitely a lot of things have changed up. I haven't really seen these two teams before. Does look like it. It's really great that we get to see the team of origin. I mean, server of origin. So we get QAT from the DI and Doc from LA. And again, the more we know about these teams, the better. Unfortunately, I haven't seen these. I'm pretty sure I haven't seen these guys play before. Maybe QAT I've seen before. I haven't seen Doc play before. Or maybe they have. I've seen this unit name before. Or maybe I fought them, like, in battle. But anyway, the next set of battles should start shortly. I do hope you guys are enjoying the stream. I know there were some difficulties with OMG versus ECL, but I can assure you, when you kind of follow the top teams, especially during the scoring phase, it's kind of just a stomp. And what's more enjoyable is watching two teams really fight it out and really kind of show their skill. When teams don't have the opportunity, show off their skills, especially against either lower or higher skilled players, it's a little bit sad. It's not completely fun to watch. That's why I do think that it should be more difficult to kind of have these, like, overturning death balls of winning, because it can become very numbing if all you see is just people just wiping each other out really quickly. And I'm of the opinion that CB has moved more and more in the direction of just killing. You can't help it. It's just the damage coming out of units have been increasing ever so much, and the rate at which units are increasing in kind of health or survivability is also not keeping up. But there is also the problem with, like, sustain, and there's a lot of usability issues. And again, what is QAT doing? They have they have too many people again, and another person joined. Get out! I don't know why they haven't started yet. It is 4 mil. There we go. There's the start. Did look like they swapped over one of the players, probably. So 6 guys, 4 guys. So the first battle between QAT and Doc here on Kurak Castle. Kurak Castle was remade last season. We did get to see quite a bit. Not as much as I was hoping. Again, Harbor City was kind of chosen, kind of overruling a lot of things. Even with Wallfort kind of being taken off the table, Harbor City just took up the slack. Oh yeah, as you can see, I'm gonna let you guys have a look at the units and the hero composition. I do think, by the looks of it, Doc has a much stronger lineup because of the kill potential. We got some heavy armor coming in from QAT, but the problem here is, my question is whether or not they'll be able to make use of that heavy armor. A lower level of cavalry coming out from QAT could leave some suggestions that that they're not going to try to brute force it with cavalry, which is smart. They want to kind of go slow with infantry, especially since Fortebraccio is seemed to be kind of like a about 100%, like I would say about 90% pick rate. I don't think there's very many people. I don't think anyone would disagree that Fortebraccios are kind of the go-to for anti-cavalry units, and they're quite decent against most infantry. You would be hard pressed to bring anything substituting Fortebraccio to be against cavalry. There are other units that do better against infantry than Fortebraccios. Fortebraccios really lack in terms of damage, penetration, well, just damage in general. Penetration doesn't really matter since there's no huge differences between armor and stuff. But, whoa! My frames just died. I think everyone was just loading in there. One of the things that has changed with Fortebraccio is the ability to brace on the spot, and so them moving around and them being able to brace on the spot makes cavalry easier to deal with cavalry. One of the classic problems that Fortebraccios were constantly facing was that at certain angles, Fortebraccios would be too susceptible to cavalry, and once the formation gets broken, those out of position would just instantly just get deleted without any retaliation. So one good hit into the Fortebraccio and a follow-up charge would just destroy it. But you get a lot of, oh, this is one of the more interesting starts that I've ever seen. Really pulling up the infantry real close to the front gate. Probably worried about a sally out, but I don't think there's very many people that would risk a sally out, considering that, well, I mean, a lot of people are risking their units kind of just being out here. Whoa! I mean, you could use any artillery you want, but that catapult is not very useful. It's great for destroying siege towers, actually. Watch this. Ooh. Good hit. Only problem is that you need more firepower. They did take out the left and the right-hand siege tower. This middle siege tower is not going to get destroyed. For something that just like for something that throws a lot of rocks, it doesn't actually deal a lot of damage. It's like it's like 1600 damage per rock, but it does take it down, and rightfully so. Multi-hit artillery are pretty much the best. We've got a lot of mortars. We have epic and rare mortars going off. I don't think there's such thing as a legendary mortar, but my goodness. Look at the explosion radius as well. Like you see the aftermath, but the explosion radius is 5 meters, I think. 3 meters, sorry. Blue one's 3 meters, I think. At the very least, 3 meters. Not a lot of damage when it's the explosion radius, but when you land directly on top, oh man, that is pain. I mean, that is absolutely nasty. And surprisingly, these guys did not get hit. The siege ram did not destroy the front gate, which is very odd.
Nothing my axe can't handle.
So for those that are tuning in, again, the rules for siege weapons have changed, and again, since we're on the live server, they have access to all of these siege weapons that they would normally not have access to, and those are the epic and legendary ones. I don't think anyone is going to stinge out on a match like this. Whoa! Not a kill, but a follow-up. Whoa! There's some deaths. I think the defending team is going to be quite hard pressed not to just respond by just destroying the siege towers. And again, like, it's going to be very difficult. I think it's going to be very difficult to take the wall with siege towers. I think the defending team should have went harder for the siege towers. Remember, the changes for these things is very important because the attackers have up to 3 artilleries they can bring, while the defenders can bring up to 2. What is striking to me, though, is that the ability to use higher tier artillery does lend credence to some artilleries we've not seen in battle. And, I mean, the catapult's a fun one, but it's absolutely worthless. It's like one of the worst legendaries out of all of the legendaries that are there. It wouldn't be surprising to see a siege ballista go off. I mean, there is a siege ballista right there, so if they're going for that front gate, siege ballistas are extraordinarily deadly, and you can just watch as you just see someone just get impaled, because when you get hit by a siege ballista, it's a throw, and man, not very many things survive. It did destroy it though. Oh, that's good. You get to see these guys with their attires and stuff. I have been thinking whether or not to leave the unit flags on. I think the unit flags are kind of immersion breaking for me, but realistically, because of doctrines being allowed, they are kind of important to kind of be able to see, although my eyesight's not that good enough to actually see what the hell the doctrines are. Nevertheless, I don't think anyone's stinging out on the doctrines either. All of them are basically epic, full set of epics or whatnot. Oh, that is a raw. No, that is a bunch of epics. So, if that was a no doctrine unit, that would have been terrifying. They might go through the front gate here. They have more infantry forces, but they are prone to getting sallied out on with cavalry, so that could be happening. Say could be, but good luck with that. Switching onto the wall. I wouldn't be surprised if the heroes just beat their way. Whoa! This pike is not in a good position. He's about to get, feel sorry. They do take the wall here. Monks at the front. Just gets slapped down by the Mermillones. A shot directly in. We have Shenji. There is so much going on right now. And another charge going through. But just getting shot to pieces. A Treb misses. There goes for a hit. And you can see definitely they're aiming for this central pile. Surprisingly, there was a Siphonati that was trying to get in through. And just getting blasted to pieces. Got some mortars hitting into the back line here, but there's not enough pressure realistically. There is 2 epic great shots. Yeah, you need more mortars shooting into this back section, and going up that stairs was a really bad move. Doc is just funneling in troops, unable to stabilize their position as the monks. Look at this death pile of monks. Whack, whack, whack. There is 3 separate monks units just eating right through the medals, unable to sustain. But it does look like the monks are kind of trying to kill these guys on the corner, but they're not just reaching, so they're not going to go all the way down. Sometimes you want to control your monks to get them in the right position. Stairs are kind of really bad for them, especially when they target things lower than them or higher than them. Mermeleona's charge is trying to get through. It's not exactly the best thing. I'm not sure where those gunners were going, but they were just walking into death. It is a kind of... It's just a mosh pit as units are just being thrown straight in. There are so many Fortibraccios as well right now here on the corner of the stairs that anything coming down is just going to get skewered. Shield Maidens are pretty tough. They will struggle, though, against the Halberdiers, but reinforcements comes through. The Medals will get tankier as they continue to attack, but outranged by the Fortibraccios. But pure mass right now does seem that Doc is going to go push them straight out. Only one siege tower up here, unable to stabilize, and QAT gets knocked back, sacrificing a lot indeed. We have a Sally out. Probably tried to get a little bit, but didn't work out. What I find quite impressive is... Huh? Is there only 4... QAT only has 4 guys? 14 guys? What? I gotta check that. Did one of them DC? I think one of them DC'd. I didn't even notice that. I didn't even notice that one of the guys might have DC'd. Kind of silly to sally out because you're just walking straight into Winged Hussars. I mean, I say that, but they kind of traded with the new cavalry. I'm not sure. Actually, probably not. Ooh. I mean, as good as the new cavalry are, they're not that good.
Child's play.
Another push towards the A point. They need to grab time. They have only a minute to go. Right in, almost kills himself. Again, what you probably want to do, which is much better, is to do the heavy push, the heavy shield push in. But I think it's the artillery that's doing most of the damage here. And that stairs is a nice clean shot for grape shots. And at this distance, an epic grape shot still hits. And that is super nasty. Super nasty. Having a grape shot just fire into that. You're gonna lose so many units. The unfortunate thing here is that QAT does seem to be lacking. Whoa! Grabbing that grape shot for the back line. Does look like they seem to be down one guy, and for attacking, it's just... Having down one guy is super, super, super tragic. But what I was saying before is the siege tower accessibility was very low. Only one siege tower up on the wall. That's not something you want. So it does look like one of the guys did DC and did not come back. That's just super, super annoying. No. Mortar barrage from both sides, waiting until the drop siege ballista for last point. Didn't even make it to last point, Kurosai, sorry. I think the defenders in this case just had too many things going for them, and QAT really needed to kind of use the like. One of the things that I always keep saying in these matches is resources, resource assignment. With the defenders having so much more artillery and so much more variety of artillery, it goes to reason that it will be very difficult to, how to say, it would be very difficult to withstand the amount of artillery coming out right now. And And to no one's shock, the unregulated use of high-end artillery is dominating most of the gameplay. At this point, you are better off having units which are bodies, like cannon fodder, because you are losing high-tier units to grape shots, to mortars, to all of these things. You need to get a handle on them. The defenders, in this case, having an access to 2 artilleries gives them much more flexibility and can be much more aggressive, using 1 artillery to destroy the siege towers, and they can control 2 siege towers and let 1 up. Again, they could keep that for a long time. This restricts the number of avenues that the attackers can get in, and it goes without saying that the attackers are on a clock. They don't have time to get the best angle. They don't have time to find the defenders in a bad position to put some artillery down. You need to be aggressive. You need to push them straight out. QAT did run low, but they did able to kill out the first wave of defenders, which was good. That was good. One thing led to another, though, that didn't allow them to open up their avenues. They took a very hard fight, very straight on. They should have been looking for more avenues to open up the map. And I like the analogy of chess a little bit. There is a strategy that involves boxing in your opponent, and when you don't have the freedom of mobility, your opponent has less moves that would be advantageous for him. So it becomes more and more difficult for them to take moves that or it would be more difficult for the opposing team. Well, sorry. It would be more difficult to the person who's boxed in, that has limited moves, to do something that their opponent can't take advantage of. And when you only have 1 siege tower up on the wall, that is a bad setup for a super disadvantageous position if you do end up taking it. And there are times where you can push through. There are times where brute force does work, but you're just not getting that advantageous position if you do win. And that's the thing. It's so costly in the end for QAT to take that wall that they weren't able to stabilize. They got pushed out. They almost got the A point. They were a sliver off, but again, eventually got pushed out. They didn't have the opportunity to put down more artillery. They just used it, and it was just basically a slaughter. Also, yeah, a good strategy as well is to take out the artillery that's aiming at the towers. And back in the day, like right now even, you see artillery, you treb it. 1 treb for 1 artillery is great back in the day, and 1 treb for 1 artillery even now, I think is going to be great. Because the power of artillery is escalated. It's gone into the epics. It's gone into the legendaries. These are artilleries which are game-changing. And there is going to be a change in how teams will set up for attacking and defending. Defending is going to be concentrating fire, funneling your opponents into 1 section. For attacking, you're going to have to focus on getting advantageous positions even more than ever, because if you don't open up those routes, getting funneled getting hit with all that artillery, getting hit by a bunch of grape shots is going to be instant death. Because the direction you're coming from is super predictable. A lot of times it's super predictable. So you need to take out the things that are going to give your opponent their advantage. And that is the artillery. The artillery is going to be super important because they're going to be super more aggressive with them. And as you can see, these guys are building artillery mid-battle. They are not stingy at all. Like, even in the CBL, there are times where artillery was built, there were times where artillery wasn't. And timing for these artillery to come out and resource management is really key. But it's also the strategy of both teams to take advantage of those artilleries. There are a lot of times where the artilleries were not very advantageous at that position because they were not set up for it. And classically, as CPL went on and on and on, the usage of artillery at certain stages became very predictable. Right now, we're in kind of like a new... We're kind of like in a new experimental phase where people are testing out or finding new strategies. The extra resources is just a lot of power that they can play with now, especially for defenders, which normally only had access to one artillery. As you can see, quality of artillery is staggeringly high. There's only like a couple of guys with blue quality artillery, but I'm pretty sure they're going to swap very quickly to something that's an epic quality, maybe. I mean, like, if you don't have epic quality at the very least, go make some. Go buy some. And that's going to be kind of like the key to winning some of these matches, is who can outmuscle the opponent with artillery. I do think Doc and QAT do have 15 players each this time. Let's hope that stays true. Cavalry doesn't seem to be very many. It's about a 1/3. Cavalry has kind of been as much as I hate cavalry. Their ever presence in power is, for me, always overabundance. 1/3 of your lineup being cavalry is, for me, a cause for concern. You have a lot of Fortebraccios, again, a lot of monks as well. So we're kind of getting into this, like, cavalry, monks, and Fortebraccio. We do get some ISGs. The Imperial Spear Guards, they're not going to really have much of an impact, but they are very useful. They make the hero much more tankier against units, and if you can get the Imperial Spear Guards onto Fortebraccios in particular, that can be quite devastating, be blocking them up so much. So starting off very strong, instantly tripping out some of those artilleries. And Cricket, stop playing with my feet. So it's interesting formation for a lot of these things. I would definitely think that mortars would probably be my pick, especially since mortaring from both sides are quite, how to say, terrifying. A mortar over here, firing in, excellent. They're getting on their way. QAT not putting down very much artillery to destroy this middle siege tower. I do think this middle siege tower is probably the bad one for, I mean, like, the middle siege tower for me is always the worst one for the attackers. The right or the left-hand siege towers are normally pretty good. You can take good advantage and you have a lot of space. The right-hand siege tower here is kind of narrow, and you don't really have very much freedom. But then again, like, both the siege towers does have a very narrow choke towards the A point, so you're never gonna get that kind of freedom. So of course you have these culverins here. Really, realistically, I would go over here. There are people. I mean, like, I'm pretty sure with epic culverins you can easily shoot from here, and you can shoot both siege towers from here. So there are some smart people as well with this. Again, catapult destroying a siege tower. Catapults are pretty much the only thing that is good. This is not what I expected to see. Is this too close, or will this guy hit? 2 wall rockets. So this is kind of like... this is kind of really funny. He's not going to stay to fire those, so that's going to be interesting when he does fire them. Wall rockets will take a while to get over, but they can go cross-country, across the map. Especially from an elevated position. Some of the artillery can go very far. Culverins, of course, go very far, but I've seen people shoot cannons at a very far distance. The middle siege tower does look like it will eventually get up onto the wall. Left-hand siege tower gets destroyed again. And if anything, again, if any siege tower gets up onto the wall, the middle siege tower is pretty much the one where it could... middle siege tower is pretty much one of the worst ones for the attackers. But in this case, with the defenders having so much freedom to bombard the enemy, the middle siege tower here could actually be the safer pick. Giving, if they push towards the left hand side, block out the A section, they would probably have a better chance of surviving the onslaught, and also get a bunch of artillery across this wall here. My goodness, the front gate will be opened up immediately. Don't even need to go down to A. If they go up to A, shoot. And freeing up the bottom section could mean that a supply push would be happening. But one of the more difficult parts is having working independent sections. A lot of times teams love to just group up and grind down each other into dust. We have a lot of monks out on the field for the defenders. Does look like we have 3 here, 5, 1. So we have 9 monks out on the field right now for the defenders. Coming up against them for the Brashios, we got Murmillones, Imperial Spear Guard, 2 monks there. Wow, a lot of Murmillones. And rightfully so. They ignore block. One of the things that makes monks so difficult to kill is the amount of block they have. And being able to ignore that is great. Slapping the monks with raw damage is what you need to do. A lot of people go top line monks, so they don't die instantly. So you gotta need to throw a lot at them sometimes. Good monk users also know how to use their number 1 ability. The number 1 ability well, not the number 1 ability itself, but the special slam animation is basically CC immune. I don't really think that I don't really think I've seen anything CC a monk doing that slam ability. So if you time that right when a Murmillones charge is coming, you could actually smack it into the ground. For Doc, they still have a lot of time. I would keep mortaring, keep pressuring like this, but I would also keep pushing that siege tower. So they have a good advantage here to kind of block off this rear guard. ISG, where you going? ISG leaving the rear guard to the Fort Brasio, instantly shafting themselves. We saw those war rockets come in, and they are really accurate. That means he can see up above. The Imperial Spear Guard continuously running away. Where are you going? The Imperial Spear Guard is probably the best unit to hold off the onslaught, but just don't do it. Don't even use it, apparently. We got Flaming Comets trying to slow down, stretching that line out, which is really good strategy. This is really good, in fact. They burnt out the monks for the most part, but again, underutilizing the ISG. ISG protecting that Borrachio, protecting that rear, holding the enemy there, you have more opportunity. In the end, does look like QAT overstretched their advantage. Really should have just let them take the wall on the section here, since you do have that wall rocket really hammering the opponents here on the close side. So pushing them all the way across does leave them a little bit open. But now I realize that they've actually climbed up onto the right hand side here. So this grape shot is going to be a killer. The wall rocket and the grape shot both are definitely killers. Look how many people have died. I don't even think they died from people, from units attacking. I think they died from just getting hit with artillery, and more grape shots being deployed on top of the stairs. It's just a massacre of units as QAT just funnels more and more troops in. The shield maidens are fairly tanky, but not as tanky as the good old ISG. Marialones does smack their way through, slowly picking on wall rockets coming through. I don't know why this wall rocket hasn't aimed for these grape shots yet. I would have taken out the grape shots almost immediately. One of the more important things to take out. Finally taking out the grape shots. Both sides have lost a lot of units as they just kind of ground each other down. Doc getting in with his second respawn. I mean, it was a bit of a trickle, but this is a solid. This is kind of like solid now, as the heroes from QAT just kind of clock out one by one. Watching out for that sally out, though. Does look like the Borrachios catch most of the cavalry as they kind of make a mess here on the bottom. Really should be wary about your units, especially ranged units. That could have been a sad reality for losing a whole range unit like that. Moving on to the base point now. I do think Doc is in a good position as, wow, one of them is permadeath. And a lot of them are on their second death. Doc is doing very well for themselves by the looks of it. And the number of artillery is clocking down. As, look how many artillery was used. More than 30 artillery has been used already. And there's still like... more than 40 artillery probably has been used, actually. There's still probably 50... still probably like 15 left, maybe. Not 15, more like 30 left. Man, 15 times 5 artillery. That's an absurd number of artillery that you could see in a single match. So you can see up to 75 artillery plus the 15 trebs from the attackers. Button. Nope, not that one. Number of deaths. This one's units. So, Doc is definitely in a bad position. Bad. I'm trying to figure out how to change this thing. T, Y. Come on. I know it's here somewhere. Button. Nope. Not that button. There we go. Nope. That was an automatic. Why will it not let me do what I want? Okay, there we go. It was spacebar. Oh man. Wow. QAT is probably down to their last good unit. A couple of guys probably... Oh, no, wait. A couple of them are, actually. A couple of QAT is down to their last good units. And we're going to see... Yeah, you can build. You can build Bombard. This is very similar to kind of like the first season. The first season of tournament battles like these were basically like unlimited artillery on one. So, quite interesting that Doc kind of shafting themselves coming in through one staircase. If you're going for a easy muscle, I would have gone straight on through, protect yourself with this barricade, or come in through here, protect yourself with that barricade. Otherwise, I would have taken both the stairs here, put up some artillery, shoot them back. That being said, two artillery, like, they're shooting each other, but the massive infantry just getting shot at. The advantage towards Doc in sheer numbers is still massive. New cavalry just swiped right on through, killing a Daggerrack Lancer and most of a Murmillones. QAT is slowly trickling them down, which is quite impressive, considering that I thought Doc actually were muscling them out, but apparently not. We get to see some action from the Yanudel cavalry just running straight into some halberdiers. You do get to see a lot of cavalry just run into pikes, as again, you can still outmuscle pikemen with cavalry, which is again like a concern for me, considering how powerful cavalry is. If cavalry didn't do as much damage as it did, I think it would be fine running into pikes. But it's just pretty bad. Oh, very surprising. Hammer dudes just take out a whole ranged unit by themselves. Probably the unit was helping. The surprising thing is that grouping up and getting hit by artillery, especially grape shots and stuff, the weirdest thing is that the more units you have, the better it is. Just getting hit with grape shots, in particular, like, from, like, straight on angles, is much safer than spreading out. Spreading out, grape shot spreads out the damage, and that's bad, actually. You want the grape shot to kind of overkill certain units. That means certain units get hit with too many pellets at once. And, I mean, there are times where, like, whole cavalry, like, one cavalry can just soak up the entire shot, and that's really sad. I mean, like, I've done it all the time. I would shoot one cavalry, and it's an epic grape shot, and it would just absorb their, like, people with their horses as well. Sometimes I would shoot their horse as they kind of, like, jump off of it, and I would shoot their grape shot. The grape shot would just, like, do all the damage to the cavalry and nothing behind it. So going towards the supply point, probably a good move. Take out their reserve troops, especially these cavalry here. They don't see it coming. As they just scream on through. Again, lots of cavalry ready to just smash whatever's in the back line. We're getting closer and closer to kind of like ticking down. Mostly just cavalry for dockside, I would think. Heavy infantry is going to have to really work hard. Oh, here they come. Infantry from one action, cavalry from another. Again, like, cavalry coming in too fast as the infantry has barely engaged. So, right now, the cavalry is just running straight through as the infantry has not even reached the front line. Finally reaching the front line, the cavalry is still making a mess of things, but they are losing on some sections, which they shouldn't be. Probably lost more units than necessary, but they do win out in the end. Mostly just shield units, which were, again, not very useful on the grand scheme of things, as they just get blown right through from everything from pikes to Fenris to cavalry. It was kind of like a done deal moving forward into the base point, but
Child's play.
QAT did put a good effort, running the clock down to 2 minutes 30. I think if they played their cards right, they could have probably clocked down the clock even further, but this is probably the best scenario for them in the most case, being heavily disadvantaged, or be on a heavy disadvantage in terms of units, especially quality units. There was still a lot of surf units around, probably weren't able to deploy it. But I mean, I didn't check this at the end, but one of the QAT guys was permadeath in the midsection leading up to the base point, and as you can see, more people permadeath near the end. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 permadeath coming out from QAT, finishing up that battle. Surprisingly, Doc actually got 1 permadeath. Performance out from most people is pretty high, but Forte is out in force again. The most common units, I think, are going to be the Forte, the monks. Even though it looks like a small number of monks, this is almost 2 whole units of monks right there. And a leftover cavalry. So as you can see, Forte and monks are very common. We do get some Imperial Spearguard. Imperial Spearguard is popping up quite a bit, but impact-wise, they're not really showing the push, shove. When the going gets tough, they're really not pushing back. So Imperial Spear Guards are tougher, stronger, and definitely one of the stronger units, I would say, in comparison. But they're really not showing their worth in this high damage environment, unable to protect other units for the most part, and unable to protect themselves. The change up for this CBL is quite shocking, considering the number of artilleries being used from both sides. There was so much artillery used, and I think 60 over artillery was used in that battle. A lot of them getting destroyed by cross artillery fire, but so many grape shots. And I think leading into battle, grape shots will probably be really great for killing, but if you want to go for disruption, gotta get those cannons, gotta get those mortars. They're really, really nasty. And I think the cannons could be sleepers because, especially for stairs like those, cannons hitting is way more devastating than a mortar because it's more powerful in a concentrated hit, in fact. Let's just take a quick look at the artilleries, because cannons have a smaller splash radius of only 2 meters in this case, but 3,000 damage. How about a mortar? 3 meter splash radius, but 13, almost 1,400 damage. So you double the amount of damage in a more concentrated area. I think a cannon could definitely mess up a push much more than a mortar can. Attacking, mortars will be very much more useful because of like angles and stuff. But for defending, good old cannon placement shooting straight into the center of an enemy line, I think that's going to be absolutely crushing. But grape shot's also very good. Heroes trying to get past their units will just get instantly deleted. Nevertheless, that is all for today. We got to see the first battle of OMG versus ECL. Again, there's no surprise there. ECL wipes the floor with OMG. We didn't get to see the second battle, but it did end within 10 minutes. So I think ECL did kind of just stomp the floor with them, although there is no record of it. So for all we know, OMG gave them a really hard fight. Then we got the second battle between QAT versus Doc. And Doc has a really strong showing to kind of use their artillery to their advantage. Again, I do think leading up into this, well, not leading up, I do think moving forward we'll be seeing more and more artillery play, and probably we'll see a rise in units that are resilient to artillery. So it will be very strange not to see units like monks, units like Murmullones or Medaus not kind of see more play just during the artillery phase, because very few units have the ability to withstand getting hit by artillery. Monks have high health pools, so they're fine, generally. Same with, like, Berserkers. But Murmullones is funny because they have a high health pool, and while in formation, they have a really high amount of damage resistance. I'm not sure if that applies for artillery, but for Medaus in particular, while they're braced, they are very resistant to artillery. They have 20% for people that don't know. Monks actually, not monks, Medaus actually have a 20% damage resistance while in brace to every other damage source besides infantry and cavalry. It's special for the Medaus because this also includes damage sources that are artillery, based, which normally is not affected by armor or damage resistance. So there's that. Hitting them will be quite painful. Still, you don't want to get hit, but I definitely think that the usage of artillery and whether or not teams can get that amount of artillery, we've only seen very few battles, but between 15 players eating through 60, maybe 75 artillery, that is like 2 or 3 artillery each per battle. We're going to see a shortage of artillery very, very quickly, and see how teams will move forward when they run down artillery leading up to some of the later matches. I do think the changes to artillery and being on the live server makes kind of resource management a little bit more difficult. But nevertheless, I hope you guys enjoyed the show. That is it for tonight. We'll get to see you guys on the Sunday, so we don't get to see anything on the Saturday. But the House Legion League scoring phase for day 2. I'll see you guys on the Sunday. But other than that, my name's Zatsukai. Have a nice day. So goodbye now.